Well, the pendulum swung once again in the National One title race, and it is back with Richmond, who now hold a 3 point lead at the summit. George Nugent coming up with what could be a crucial bonus point score a minute from time to seal a 31-14 victory for Rob Powell's side in round 18 against 10th placed Dings Crusaders last week. But the main storyline occurred at Old Bath Road, where title candidates Rams suffered a 34-25 defeat against Bishop's Stortford. Back-to-back losses for Seb Reynolds' side, who have slipped back down to second in the standings. But massive credit to Bishop Stortford in this one, who have now beaten both Rams and Rotherham Titans away from home this season. Tom Coleman's side suffered 3 yellow cards in 5 first half minutes, but Tom Mills's penalty on the stroke of half time gave Stortford an unlikely 17-15 lead. And then second half tries from Mills himself, as well as Chris Smith and Alex Raymond, did the damage as Stortford departed Berkshire with a full 5 points. So an excellent result for Bishop Stortford, but confirmation that Richmond are back on top of the pile, and with that 3 point gap, while Rotherham Titans are still in the hunt after their 24-7 victory over 13th placed Leicester Lions. A patched up Titans team due to illness and injury, but they still maintained their winning run. But despite their best efforts, though, they didn't manage to secure a try bonus point. So they are 6 points off the top, with their game in hand to come next week away at 12th placed Esher. And just sticking with the top half briefly, Plymouth Albion continued their blistering form. It's now 7 wins in a row for Ryan Lamb's side, who defeated Blackheath 22-19 away from home last weekend. Just a second side to depart the Utilita victorious, and Plymouth actually play the top 3 sides in March. A really interesting time to come for Plymouth Albion. Just down at the bottom, where Esher made it 3 wins on the spin in round 18 with a 29-22 win away at bottom club Darlington Moden Park. It now leaves them 13 points clear of Leicester Lions with a game in hand. So a brilliant start to 2025 for Peter Winterbottom's troops. And the only other side to taste victory in the bottom half in round 18 were Bishop Stortford, who are our first feature club of the week on the National League Rugby preview show. Now, this time last year, Bishop Stortford were actually bottom of the 3rd tier, but they managed to escape the drop on the final day of the season, and they are now a club looking up rather than down. This is their 7th consecutive season in National One, but for head coach Tom Coleman, this is his first season solely in charge of the club after being joint head coach a few years ago, when he helped to guide Stortford to 6th place, their highest ever finish in National One. Now, for those who don't know Tom is Stortford through and through, having played for the club as a mini and junior right the way up to playing in the National Leagues, and Tom actually captained the club when they earned promotion to National One back in 2017. So it is a club very close to Tom's heart, and he would have been absolutely delighted with their victory over Rams last week. But the challenges keep coming for Bishop Stortford, starting with the visit of 3rd place Rotherham Titans to Silver Lays on Saturday. So ahead of that one, we decided to have a catch-up with head coach Tom Coleman. To start with, Tom, I think there's only really one place we can begin with, and that's that victory at the weekend away at Rams. We know how difficult it is a place to go since the club have been in National One. So, you gave them a hard time in the reverse fixture back in October, but came through on Saturday with this outstanding result. So how do you kind of reflect on it overall?
Like you said, it's probably been a long time coming, to be honest. I think it was 8 years. Someone reminded me just before we kicked off, which was nice. And I think that it's Rams are a quality outfit, and they've been doing it for a few years now. But we had a really good sort of energy about us throughout the whole week, and we trained really well, and the boys were on it. And just sometimes as a coach, you sometimes look at your group and you think, this could be our day. It was a really good week for us in terms of honesty, and we sat there. We had a good meeting on Tuesday, and not just players, coaches as well. And we agreed we all have to do better. And we sort of looked at a few things and decided, are you someone who's going to pull the average up or down? Where are you going with it? And I think the boys reacted, and I think to a man, we had a plan of what we wanted to do. We know they're a smart side and they're experienced, and we'd have to do things perhaps slightly differently to what we'd normally do. And I'm pleased to say that the boys obviously carried that out.
Just go back to a really interesting point you made there, Tom. Like, kind of, you talked about like you being honest as a group last week, and did we kind of see everyone pulling together even more so during that Rams game? I know you said afterwards that you kind of had to go through a bit of adversity. I think you'd lost, I think, 3 yellow cards in the first half, but to then go into half time leading the game, that must have been a real boost for you as a side that everyone had pulled together during that period, and then to go in the sheds leading must have given you a bit of a bounce in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. You face adversity in every game, really, but you can certainly compound that, and we have a very good habit of doing that to ourselves at times. And I think probably, if I'm right, there's probably 3 times this season we've played with 13 or 12 players, and that you can't do that at this level. Teams are too good, they're too accurate, and they work you out. But I mean, the way the 12 boys dug in, because those yellow cards all came within 2-3 minutes of each other. So we're playing a large period with 2-3 players left, and I think the way they're just a huge character from the boys, the way they turned up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Tom. And just kind of looking at a bit of the wider picture a little bit, and bringing it to the start of this season. Obviously, if I'm right in saying you came back to the club as kind of the sole head coach in the summer after kind of stepping away after being joint head coach with Marcus. And I know when you left, you kind of talked about kind of the work commitments, the family commitments, which are so important to everybody. But what was kind of the decision for you to kind of come back to the club and take on the head coach role last summer?
Well, I think what I'd say is I've obviously got huge respect for all the coaches that coach at this level, and some of us are different. Some of us are full time, some of us are part time, and I'm talking to you now, but I'm in school and I'm teaching a lesson in about 20 minutes, and you sort of. And you've got to just try and work it all out. And I think I've been at the rugby club a long time, as a youngster, and then grown up through the club, and worked with some great people: Andy Long, Pete Engledale, Steve Pope, and it's kind of, it just takes its toll on you eventually. And I think it was good for me to have a year of sort of reflection and learn a bit more as well. I think that's important. Is that I look at a lot of other coaches in the Championship and National One and below, and there's some great coaches in every level, and you can never stop sort of learning from them. And then obviously the intention was to hopefully come back at some point, but you just get the feeling for it sometimes, and the feeling was right to come back. And the club has meant a lot to me as a mini and youth sort of player, and I've grown up and had some great journeys with some great people, and obviously those connections are still there and still very strong. It does mean a lot to me, and I let the players know that as well, and I think they can see it when I speak to them. I was in a meeting on Sunday morning with the mini and youth coaches, and we're working out how we can make them better and help them as a group develop the next core of first team players for our club. And it's important for me to give that back, because I've had that as a youngster and a coach coming up. I've had parents coach me and give up their time, and I'm certainly invested in the future of the club. And it's not just about when I'm here, it's when I'm not here, what happens after. And there's got to be a reaction to that, and we've got to make sure we're in a really strong place moving forward. Those connections are important for us, and that's why I feel we've built a really strong sort of culture in the club, and that's something that we need to keep developing and keep growing.
Seems like the journey Bishop Stortford are on is taking step by step, as you say there, Tom, and it's heading in a good direction, hopefully, because kind of this time last season, I know kind of you were stepped away from the club for the brief period you had, Tom, but I was looking at the table from this time last year, and the club were actually bottom of the table. You now find yourself sort of mid-table at the moment. So what has gone into this season, do you think, to get Stortford to where you find yourselves now with kind of 8 games to go?
Hard work. You have to work incredibly hard. You have to be diligent in looking at the opposition. And I do spend hours, probably too many. If you ask my wife, she's. But you've got to spend your time doing your homework on other teams. You've got to believe in a way that you play. And if I'm being honest, I had to change quite a few things from where I thought we'd be at the start of the season. Injuries didn't help, and then probably a lack of recruitment, if I'm being honest. So, and that's on me. And I think I had to change a few things with the coaches, and we've done that. And I think we've built a good sort of well-rounded game that, as I alluded to at the start of the chat, I think most coaches will say about Bishop Stortford that we're a dangerous team, and I kind of like hearing that, but I don't. It frustrates me because we search for that consistency, and we've not had that, and that's something that as a group we've spoken about a lot, and something we need to be better at, because we haven't put a run of wins together yet that we're happy with. We've been there or thereabouts in games, but just not quite. And I think it's just finding that level where you can week in, week out sustain a level of performance that you're happy with, but also playing for 80 minutes. And that's what we spoke about the weekend, is this game's going to be 80 minutes and Rams aren't going anywhere, and we have to be there right at the end. And we were.
Just onto this weekend against Rotherham, you mentioned there that teams do kind of say that Bishop Stortford are a dangerous side, and I think Rotherham will know that all too well after you guys were the only team so far to beat Rotherham away from home. It's not often they lose at Clifton Lane, but you managed to get the job done in round 7. Can you take anything from that game, Tom, into this Saturday, or is it kind of maybe mixing a bit of that into kind of the performance that you did see against Rams, which you alluded to just there?
I think you can always take a bit from it. It's obviously a nice thing for us to go and achieve, but ultimately it will count for nothing this weekend. And I know Harvey very well. I know he'll be very keen to turn that around this weekend. And that's the great thing for us is, Harvey's a quality coach, and he, quite rightly, he should feel probably should be in the Premiership right now, and was unlucky due to unfortunate circumstances. And I think he's done a remarkable job there, and has turned them into a real tough side. And I think I wrote in some programme notes for the weekend, it's like what's impressed me the most is their level of consistency. I mean, it's incredible to just keep churning out results. We know what they do, and they do it very well. We worked it out on the away game, and we came up with a good plan, and it worked for us on the day. We'll need to do different things again this week, and we know that, and that's what we're preparing for. But the challenge for us is the players to back up a really good performance, and that's the hard part as a coach. You've got to. Our boys were obviously very excited on the weekend to get that victory, but I've now got to bring them down to a level that isn't seen as negative, but it's to take the next step. And can we beat the first place team, the second place team? And, I think we have the top 4 all in 4 games in a row. And we looked a lot at that and how we can sort of pick up points and where we're looking at our victories. But, we go into every game believing we can win it. And that's what you have to have. And Saturday will be no different. We have a small squad. I am asking a lot of the players. I know that. And every coach has injuries and problems to deal with. And it's how you best deal with those, I think, that gets you through. And I've got a hungry group of players that they want to finish as high as they can. And they know that we're building something, and hopefully we can sort of finish the season really strong. And then we can sort of look at next year and take another step further again.
So a huge thanks to Tom for his time earlier this week. Very clear that he absolutely bleeds Bishop Stortford, isn't it? And he's determined to see the club take strides forward between now and the end of the season. And they actually come into this weekend in the knowledge that they are the only team to beat Rotherham Titans at Clifton Lane this term. So can they replicate that performance and that 45-34 victory they achieved back in round 7 in front of their home supporters at Silver Lays this weekend? And why not get yourself through the gate at Silver Lays to find out for yourself. It should be a brilliant atmosphere in Hertfordshire on Saturday. And from a Rotherham Titans perspective, they all know they'll have to be ruthless and take their chances again, like they did last week against Leicester Lions, if they are to depart Bishop Stortford with the desired outcome. And their fellow title candidates are also on the road in round 19. And as you can see, league leaders Richmond visit Leicester Lions on Saturday. It doesn't get any easier for the hosts, who after this weekend would have played 4 of the current top 5 teams in a row. They fought hard last week at Rotherham and did frustrate the Titans at times, obviously denying them that bonus point. But can they turn that effort into some much needed points for themselves? As for Rams, they are also in the Midlands but face 7th place Birmingham Moseley. Moseley returned to winning ways last time out, with Dan Brough scoring this brilliant try in their 28-20 win away at Sedgley Park. It shows you should never give up the chase, and actually that proved to be the decisive winner for Adam Balding's side. So can they build on that this weekend? Elsewhere, Roslyn Park go to Dings Crusaders, having dispatched Sale FC 52-33 in round 18. Esher entertain Blackheath. The E's go into this one searching for a 4th win in a row, but they are also doing their bit for Rugby Against Cancer this weekend. Their players will be wearing the charity's iconic pink, blue and white socks, so do get yourself down to Moseley Road if you're in the area and show your support. It is their Ladies' Day and charity fundraiser this weekend at Esher. Meanwhile, an informed Plymouth Albion extended their winning run in round 18 to 7 matches, as we mentioned before, and they'll be looking to extend that this weekend, and they'll be bubbling with confidence when they take on Sedgley Park. And lastly, Sale FC, who will be targeting a 3rd straight home success, host bottom of the table Darlington Moden Park, who fought hard against Esher last week to deservedly earn a losing bonus point.